There was a bill brought to the floor that had been floating around the Congress for several years, but it never had enough support and they couldn't get it passed. But after 9/11, they said, now is the time that we'll pass this wonderful bill that's going to protect the people, the Patriot Act. But if they'd have called that repeal the Fourth Amendment Act, maybe it wouldn't have passed so easily.
It's always the government that says, oh, if you don't have anything to hide, why are you worried about the Patriot Act? Why are you worried about all these spy systems and data mining? But yet it's those same people that hide in private, that meet in secret, under armed guards, that won't disclose what they're doing, but they want to see, hear what we're doing. New televisions have cameras and microphones built in them, facial recognition scanners, audio, voice recognition. So that is an open video camera and an open mic in your living room, in your bedroom, that any sophisticated hacker or the government could and do tap into at any time.
In New York City, they're implementing iris scanners. It's actually an app for the iPhone.
We are 5 years away in New York from zero privacy.
Scientists are reportedly developing new technology aimed at identifying anyone from much greater distances. Technology that uses physiological and behavioral recognition to identify people.
People thought that drones were just in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Now they're in America. Now they're arming them. Now they're putting facial recognition scanners on the drones.
When I worked in the agency, this was the day before gigantic amounts of computerization. Everyone had a 201 file. Everything we knew about a target would include any comments that people had made about you, anything we'd overheard about you, 5 or 6 files, each 2 or 3 inches thick. The amount of effort it took to go through something like that in paper format meant a good deal of the 20,000 employees in the CIA spent their time doing just that. In today's digital age, when you can go online and get 90% of a person's history just from open source, your life is not your own as far as the government goes.
You can't have 100% security and also then have 100% privacy. We're going to have to make some choices.
Can be warrantless wiretaps and warrantless searches on your digital information. There's stuff out there that will suck your hard drive in 10 seconds or less. It's no big deal.
A system touted as a national security necessity is being used to build a database where the biometric identity of millions of Americans will be gathered and stored.
It is of no dispute that who you're calling, when, how long you're talking, what you're buying, all the stuff that happens on your smart device is being used. Now, at the time, there's no legal oversight as to what these fusion centers, as they're called, there's no oversight as to how they're going to use it, but it's there.
So they're fusing databases, which is the concept of a fusion center, from driver's license, criminal databases, social networking they've added to that now.
The CIA could care less about all these social media because it's not sort of objective reporting on people, but the people who really care about that are commercial entities. And they're leading the way on the science of extracting all this information and coming up with algorithms to explain this person believes this person believes that.
Computer algorithms that they're using can track most people's habits and what they're going to do within a 94% accuracy rate. Google boasts about that.
Of course, now the CIA has noticed that, all right? And all they simply have to do is buy a commercial off-the-shelf product to find the people they really want to find.
So if I use my iPhone to purchase a product, it's flagged, it's under suspicion. I'm going on a list that will be, tucked away for a later time.
That means that people can collect it and then look at when they want to. And they may only want to when all of a sudden you say, hey, I object to this. And they go, oh, well, let's take a look and see what would make you object to that. Let's see why you don't like what we're doing to you.
You haven't committed a crime yet, but the second that spectrum of crime shifts over to include whatever it is you are doing, they do know where you are.
And now I can be targeted politically. It's happened. People being targeted by the police state because of their political affiliations, and people's children being taken away from them because they're critical of the government.
If I go and try to find out something about you, and I have to do extraneous measures to do that, there should be no objection from you, because if you're not doing anything wrong, what have you got to hide?
But it's very hard to explain to people who don't get it, because to them it's normal. They think it's just being open, and they live in a world of reality shows. They want their every little thought to be communicated. That's not an Orwellian dystopia, it's a Brave New World dystopia. It's a nightmare, but they don't know it, they're happy. So that's the worst of all, really.
Me?
Yeah,
like what?
Everything.
Like what?
Well, do you ever deposit or withdraw more than $1,000 in your bank account?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you get reported to the freaking Department of Homeland Security every time you do that.
So what? Why should I worry about it?
I don't mind Verizon turning over records to the government. I don't think you're talking to terrorists. I know you're not. I know I'm not, so we don't have anything to worry about.
For them it's logical. If they want to see me going to the football game, fine, I don't care. But actually they are slightly modifying their behaviour, and they're less free as a result.
A lot of people say that they're just like, well, I have nothing to hide, so why should I care? That's not the point. The point is that when you have a tape recorder out on a table, you're not going to say the same things that you would before. You're not going to dissent as much, and that's the real suppression.
I'm worried that the new generation doesn't understand what privacy is, because they've never had it, and because everything is about sharing. And I mean, we probably the last generation who knew what it was like to be unmonitored, therefore we know what we're losing, but they'll never know.
So the question is, why don't you trust us? And I tell people, because I've been one of the people who are supposed to protect America. I'm just a person. I have likes, dislikes, I have opinions, and all that stuff bleeds through to what I do.
And they say, well, you can trust us because we're not going to misuse that. But they've proven over and over and over again that they will misuse it. J. Edgar Hoover had enemies lists, and he was working to make these people's lives miserable, and they were using all these federal powers to destroy people's lives.
By sifting through this so-called metadata, they may identify potential leads with respect to folks who might engage in terrorism.
We all know that their definition of terrorism in every government, every dictatorial regime, inevitably starts going to the area of people who criticize what the government's doing.
When you become a political target of the gray state, they're going to use anything they can. So they can just look at your Facebook page without a warrant. Now they can use that against you.
And I'm convinced there are certain politicians out there that if they could put their political opponents into camps, they would just do it. People say, well, that's ludicrous. No one would ever actually do that. Well, we did it. During World War II, we did it to the Japanese Americans and some German Americans as well. In fact, we even called them concentration camps. England did it in Ireland during what they call the Troubles, euphemistically, where they would intern people at what they called Her Majesty's pleasure. Now we're saying, well, we can do that too. All we have to do is call someone a terrorist and we can lock them up pretty much as long as we want.
When the Patriot Act was introduced after 9/11, its most draconian measures were not exercised right away publicly. It was much more private. Well, now with the passing of this new Senate bill, they're advertising. They're saying it's here now.
Have you heard of Posse Comitatus?
You know that, right?
Yeah, they mentioned that today, but I'm not familiar with it.
It strictly prohibits, and it's very clear that the military is not to be used against American citizens, not to be active on American soil.
Being military police, no, we don't feel like we're being used, because that's kind of our job too.
Yeah, but not on U.S. soil, right?
Actually, we're going to be certified as U.S. soil.
Law enforcement?
Everything they go through to be certified, we're going to be doing the same thing. It's almost like we'll be going through the academy like they did.
Right there. You see your hands?
Hey, look, you need to relax.
Stop. I don't know who you are.
You need to, do you have, don't put your hands on your gun. Are you kidding me?
Go ahead and turn around for me, sir.
I'm not turning around.
All right, go ahead, step to your vehicle.
Am I being detained?
You're not being detained, but you're being questioned.
What they're doing is turning the United States into Iraq, and that's really no exaggeration. The same legal structure that applies in Iraq under the laws of war is what they're claiming to be able to do here at home in the United States. There's no legal barriers anymore as far as they're concerned.
And that any American citizen accused of being a terrorist
does not deserve a jury trial, but instead will be an enemy combatant under the laws of war. Authorizing military force, that's killing you, military detention, and military trial or rendition to some foreign country.
It seems like that could happen to anybody. All it takes is for a couple of people to say, hey, you're a terrorist, and you're going to get picked up. You're not going to be able to talk to a lawyer. You're not going to have any rights in that situation.
And when they say, I want my lawyer, you tell them, shut up.
The Constitution guarantees due process. It does not guarantee judicial process.
Wake up.